Chapter 6, Thrashing. Mai's timely aid helped the Black Dragon squad survive its toughest battle yet. They shift to guerrilla tactics, throwing barrels at their enemies. The Black Dragon squad's hit-and-run tactics have the desired effect. Ishtar's forces are visibly fatigued. Joey lures the weakened enemy to the Gigan ship straight and boxes them in. Now is the time to strike back. This is their last chance to defeat their Imperial pursuers. They need to make this fight count. Red 2 standing by, all 4 lit and in the green. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! The Falsebound Kingdom, and Tristan is optional. Poor guy. Maybe it's punishment for all the homebrew. Anyway, Mai's team comes in pretty solid. Cannon the Sword Mistress, Marvelous, and Wing Eagle. So, very versatile Cannon. Mountain Adept, fairly handy. Level 1 magic, not much chop. Marvelous doesn't get its special attack until very, very late in the game. I am actually going to take Cannon off Mai's team and start leveling up our Gemini Elf, because we actually need her as the team leader to recruit her sister. Where are you? Was I not paying attention? Oh, hang on. Well, this is a problem. I must not be very observant. Hang on. Oh, you come at level 40. That's actually a lot better than I was expecting. So, let's observe Gemini Double Radiation. When both sisters are in the party, they can use this attack, which winds up costing 2 AP for each of them, but hits pretty damn hard. Level 2 magic. I'm not going to complain about that. Another Hinotama will do nicely. So, Marvelous and Wing Eagle. You give them polymerization, we give them healing, and we give them Beast Fangs. Because these two actually make Crimson Sunbird. Now, we'll be introduced to Crimson Sunbird, and I can sort of complain a little bit about how it works there. I just get to be a grumpy old man, basically. I mean, it's kind of strange, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I will also show off Crimson Sunbird, because there are still fusions I haven't used. So, the teams, as they stand, are pretty good. Oh, it's only got armor. Garuzis is doing alright for itself. Might actually take off the Deal of Phantom and give it red medicine, just to be on the safe side, because it's the weakest member of the team as it stands. We can use some healing. So, we'll continue with these teams because I like these teams, in all fairness. I've got pretty good mileage out of them. Let's get going and put Marek's forces back in their box. It's time to put them in the ground. Is everybody ready? Ma'am, yes ma'am, I'm ready. I'm even more ready. Knock it off! When did you two start working for her? I thought I was the leader here. We are, but... well, she's beautiful, boss. We just can't say no to her. Oh, isn't that sweet? How would you like to work for me full-time? Really? Do you mean that, ma'am? I said knock it off! While you two were bickering, the enemies arrived. So, our little fortification here, what do we have coming at us? Ground, flyers. Oh good, it's Kaiser Dragon. Good old... bad old Kaiser Dragon, let's be honest, it is crap. So, Giselle usually takes first watch because his team is not quite as strong in terms of raw power. Let's send Mai down to deal with that machine team. Because her team will move very quickly. She'll have an advantage. Let's see. Tristan... Malairika can take second watch. Unless there's a fiend team somewhere. There are 2 flyers approaching us. Whoops. That's on me, I didn't pay attention. I don't always pay attention. My plans do have a very bad habit of being interesting but slightly wrong. So Malairika first, then Giselle. I mean, not that they're going to be much threat, all things considered. I mean, admittedly, they've only got 2 monsters on their team, plus luggage. Kaiser Dragon only has 4 AP and isn't anywhere near as much of a threat. It's big and long and noodly and doesn't do a lot. Parrot Dragon on the... Bugger. Well, that sucks. That really sucks. Well, we're just going to have to make the most of it, because, I mean, Kaiser Dragon sucks. I'm going to be brutally honest, Kaiser Dragon sucks, but as we can see here, the fact that I am actually down 1 monster because of really bad luck, which I think has to count as tempting fate, and the turn order being skewed again because Fairy's Gift should have gone next. Wow, okay, Kaiser Dragon sucks, but Parrot Dragon is pissed off. Like, I get it, Kaiser Dragon sucks, but it's a warm body with a gun, effectively. That's a thing with some soldiers. They might be completely useless for the most part. They might be mavericks, you might not be able to depend on them, but when push comes to shove, they are warm bodies which can hold guns and point them in the direction of the enemy. There is obviously a point where they stop being useful. We are not going to kill Kaiser Dragon. Not very easily, anyway. Because we've only got 2 monsters. I mean... Alright, so we took out the worst of them. I think I'll wait for a little bit. What is Kaiser Dragon's attack anyway? 3,500, so, I mean, it could probably knock out one of us. I think I'd rather keep Fairy's Gift at full health. Then I'll just beat up Rubber Arms over there and we'll see what it does. Since it didn't want to recover from paralysis, it's just sort of standing there. Not even menacingly. Right. Alright, so now we have to sit through 4 consecutive turns of Kaiser Dragon making a nuisance of itself. It will probably kill Embodiment of Apophis in all fairness. Unless it decides to attack Fairy's Gift. Now it can't actually take either of us down. The AI, it's so hard to actually make convincingly competent AI. Like, it's been kind of the problem with the Worms games in all fairness. Once again, we're diverting onto something else that isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! The big issue with the Worms games is the AI can actually be either incredibly stupid or incredibly competent. They can pull off shots which will defy physics. They'll bend around the place and they'll land incredibly precise blows with the benefit of the breeze. But they simply cannot, under any circumstances. I think I'd better send Mali Erika out and kill that Kaiser Dragon team because... Alright, so the gun's got that one. That's good. Giselle, just sit there and take care of it. Giselle, you're good. But yeah, as I said, the AI, they can pull off all sorts of ridiculous shots. They can bounce grenades off walls with incredible precision. They can spectacularly kill their opponents. But you know that they're just, they're sort of bending the rules because they can pull off all those freakish shots. But they cannot, under any circumstances, convincingly miss. Like, what's the best way to put it? Like, humans will be able to calculate things fairly well, but they'll miss, but they'll go close. Like, they can land shots that will almost but not quite work and things like that. Like, I'm not sure what the best way to put it is. They won't pull off those freakish shots all the time, but they're not quite as liable to do something incredibly stupid either. The AI tends to be one of two extremes in Worms games. It will either manage to blow itself up or walk off the edge or do something really incredibly dumb. But it can also do something incredibly brilliant. There doesn't really seem to be that much in between. And I mean, that seems to be the thing with so many other AIs across various games. Either they will exploit every single advantage as much as possible, or they'll just do something phenomenally dumb. Or they'll be constrained by the limits of the system. Which is actually incredibly funny sometimes, because you can see situations in, say, GoldenEye, on the N64, where the AI will be able essentially to shoot through floors, almost through floors, and hit you, because if the AI has a direct line that is unimpeded by terrain to you, then it can see you and it can shoot you. But if there's like, if they're say coming up a stairway, and you're standing just to the side of the stairway, they can't see you, they can't shoot at you. You can actually exploit this to kill Xenia in jungle really, really quickly, because the bridge counts as a hallway, and she can't shoot you if you're standing to the side of the bridge and opening fire on her. Oh good, Perplex Hex. Well, good and bad. You'll note that the standard attack of Illusionist Faceless Mage has now gained the ability to paralyze the enemy. So this is a big question that I have to ask about this game. Let's get Giselle out in the field so I can show you. So, Perplex Hex automatically stops the enemy from moving. Eye of Bewilderment stops one enemy from moving. Who thought that was a brilliant idea? Seriously. It just Wait, you're not Tristan. Turn around, Marla Erica. You're not Tristan. You go down there. Tristan, you go across that way. Right, we're set now. Don't have to worry about recruitment either, and Mai will bring us down here where we fight a fairly dangerous machine team. Oh! I may have made a terrible mistake. This could go horrifically wrong very quickly. This is a very powerful team. I could have to do a lot of healing depending on how dumb or how brilliant the AI is. But I need that labyrinth tank dead. Chip damage on the others helps too. Oh, oh, shoot. This is what you might call a significant problem. I will have to really wear them down. I suppose if they're healing each other, they're not actually attacking me, which is a bonus. Oh, good. There's only one healer. In as much as that can be good, I should probably have planned this out a little bit better, though. This is, it is slightly dire, I'm going to be honest. So, what is the logical course of action? I'll hit you and force Slot Machine to heal again, I think. Because in a drawn-out fight, I might be able to win on account of the fact... Good. Okay. In a drawn-out fight, I can probably win on account of the fact I've got Crimson Sunbird. But this is why you pay attention. Oh, this is bad. The enemy's going to get another turn, isn't it? Right. Cannon the Sword Mistress made her international debut and only appearance in Legendary Collection Yugi's World. Well, I do say only appearance, but she was actually a World Championship prize card as well as national tournaments in America for Toys R Us. At one point, only 671 copies of this card existed. In Japan, she debuted as a tournament promo and appeared here and there, including a 10,000 card celebration. And for a card that tends to be very hard to find, Cannon the Sword Mistress is not spectacular in terms of stats. It's the prestige of the prize, I guess. That's the fortunate bit. Anyway, her flavor text seems to be a subtle reference to Muhammad Ali, and in this game she will really back that ambition up. Cannon is quite strong and quick, excellent at defending bases, and proving a real danger with training, like she has here. Just don't look at what Rush Duels did to her. Those are weird. Right, well, I've discussed critical hits, I've discussed luck-based mechanics, and it's just... we assume it is just one of those things. Sometimes the random number generator goes in your favor, sometimes it just doesn't. It's certainly one of those interesting days, I guess. Well, I'll just persevere. At least nobody can manipulate the critical hit system to their advantage like you could in early Pokemon. It's sort of left me a little bit floored. I'm just like, I have managed to tempt fate every single time. And yeah, they've definitely got good healers. This is why you bring a few machines along the way. A lot of hard work being undone. But Gazelle isn't quite going to keep up. and poison is going to do a little bit of chip damage. There we are. So, I probably should try and talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And actually discuss some of the things that I did enjoy about the original game. I suppose I kind of find the flavor texts of the normal monsters fairly interesting, especially when it comes to just seeing some of the ridiculous and almost over-the-top descriptions that some monsters can have. It's like they talk about something that's like super powerful and things like that, and it's just crap. It's got like 800 attack, and they'll talk about how deadly it is, how dangerous it is, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Just like, this is really, really crap compared to everything else. I mean, we got a reasonable selection of monsters fairly early on. Like, they weren't necessarily game-breaking and things like that. But we did have monsters in the very first set and in the first decks that were at least stronger than Hitotsume Giants. But even then, we've still got a lot of those really weird and interesting flavor texts that just sort of go, how powerful is this monster? How powerful is that monster? Blah, blah, blah. At least that meant that Dark Chimera gets to survive. Alright, we're breaking its guard. Break guard. Crap. Oh boy, this has not been my mission. The last one went off without a hitch, and this is just... either I'm not paying attention, or it's just unmitigated disaster due to the vagaries of the game. Oh boy. But yeah, like, the flavor text for all of these monsters, like, it's really, really interesting that, for example, you might have some really crappy monster which talks about, like, how strong it is, all the stuff it can do, and blah, blah, blah. Like, even Monster Tamer, who is just apparently a normal person in terms of actual appearance. They are a human being, fairly ripped, admittedly. So they are a fairly physically strong human being, which is still a fair bit stronger than, say, something like Shape Snatch. It could beat the crap out of Shape Snatch easily. It could beat the crap out of something like Steel Ogre Grotto really easily. So you just sort of wonder how they come up with some of the flavor text and things like that. It's really interesting, and I think losing a lot of those normal monsters, it kind of takes some of the fun out of the game for me. Wow, we got nailed with another critical. I love sort of the creativity in the normal monsters. I'd love to see a set that just sort of like, let's go back to the beginning. Let's just pull out a whole bunch of really old and weird normal monsters. Just for a bit of fun. Like, I know it makes the game boring in some ways, but just seeing just the focus being on the monsters and how strong they are can also be very interesting, because in some ways, the many powerful effect monsters that have been produced over time essentially turn the game into solitaire. You just sit there, you watch your opponent's plays, you hope to high heaven you've got something to interrupt them, so that you actually have a chance of surviving. And you basically have to kill your opponent, because if you don't kill them, they will generally make a whole lot of plays and wind up killing you. It's like anytime you wind up facing Angel Feather in Cardfight Vanguard, or decks that require a lot of setup. For example, like I love the V-Series Duel Knights, but they require a lot of work because they have such a long battle phase, since their skills call each other in the battle phase, and they get skills if they call over one another and so on, things like that. So they can have incredibly long battle phases. Decks like Angel Feather, they can have incredibly long main phases, because they have to set everything up properly. Right, my take 2. So now we have to get a bit of revenge. I'll shut up for a little bit. Maverlus made its international debut and only appearance in Astral Pack 4. In Japan, it debuted in Volume 2 and reappeared in a 2011 tournament pack. I shall be brutally honest here, Maverlus is not worth it in the card game. Taihone, one of its fusion materials, has only 100 less attack and 500 more defense with the same type and attribute, and also has no cost to summon it. Maverlus requires 3 cards to be brought out. On top of that, its art counterpart, Blue Winged Crown, has 1600 attack and is also level 4, meaning there is literally no reason to summon Maverlus ever. In this game though, it actually fares pretty well and gets a multi-target special attack, admittedly quite late on, but the fact it's already at a high level means you can just train it pretty easily. That's quite the redemption story, given how crap it is in the card game. Alright, time for round 2. They're still damaged. And we're back at full power. Let's rock and or roll. Take him down. If we get the first 3 turns, I think we can knock Launcher Spider out of the fight. It all depends on the next turn, because Slot Machine could wind up turning up very unlucky for me. Okay, so we got the critical going our way. That's how it goes. But, so going back to what I was saying earlier, those very long turns for Angel Feather. Like, it's not a significant issue, because there's no real interrupt in Vanguard. There's no real sense of one-turn kills. It's very rare for a deck to be able to pull off a one-turn kill. You would have to get incredibly lucky or have some really, really broken attack strategies to wind up pulling off a one-turn kill. They probably exist, depending on the deck, but they are generally quite rare. I'll hold position here. Alright, now we'll try and pour fire into Labyrinth Tank. And immediately Slot Machine gets to move. That sucks. But, as I said, we wind up winning the battle of attrition. We just have to chip them down, try and keep the team alive and hope. But yeah, depending on the deck, you can wind up with some incredibly long turns. I'm not going to kill Slot Machine. It can be a bit frustrating just sort of sitting there looking at some of the setup, because Vanguard decks do tend to be a little complicated. You often have to get certain things right. Now, some of them are just sort of, they have a lot of significant advantages. Like quite a lot of the Shadow Paladin decks in the G era had so many perks and advantages and could combo really well. Nubatama and Link Joker towards the end of the G era were ridiculously strong. It's sort of a whole lot of, I basically get to rip stuff out of your hand, I can combo really well, I've got a game mechanic that stops you from playing the game, there's not much you can do about it. It was an absolute frustration to deal with. And quite a few decks got a few more perks depending on which ones they were. Like, I'll admit that Grand Blue could be incredibly strong. It was worth noting that for a while, Oracle Think Tank tended to be very strong, Murakumo tended to be very strong depending on what the build was. It got a bit fiddly at times, in all fairness. But I think they've probably done things a lot better focusing on the balance of the game in the D series, on account of the fact that they've just gone to nations. Because you knew that, like, the various nations were, like, various clans were going to get a certain amount of support at certain times, but some clans got more than others because they were the protagonist ones, they were very popular. Like, I think Shadow Paladin is probably a fair bit more popular for Western audiences than it is in Japan because, well, I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the overall aesthetic, it's sort of that... It's got that sort of dark, slightly edgy aesthetic to it compared to the Noble Knights of the Royal Paladins and all that. Probably the best way I can put it. But you had lesser clans like Spike Brothers and Mega Colony that didn't get anywhere near as much support for quite some time. And the balancing got incredibly difficult. That said, when some of them did get support, they often got some really, really good stuff. It wouldn't necessarily be enough to keep them in the metagame, but some of them could be fairly handy anti-meta decks. Like, as much as I have a personal grudge against Narukami for ripping cards out of the drop zone and putting them in the bind zone, that's because I'm a Grand Blue player. That stuff screws me over to no end. Subsequently, Narukami can serve as a pretty handy, well, let's call it an anti-meta pick. I think I need to wait for a few turns. Let's try this. I think we hit the mark. Alright, so it's... Now we can use Crimson Sunbird, which I've been waiting to do, and I generally try to avoid the AI using. So as we can see, pretty good levels, pretty good attack, pretty good abilities. Just a really, really solid monster all round because Mavelus and Wing Eagle are incredibly solid too. This is a pain in the ass and you should avoid fighting it whenever you can. Wing Eagle has never made an international appearance. In Japan, it debuted in Booster 5, then reappeared in Booster R3 and Booster Chronicle. While Wing Eagle's flavor text states its attack never misses, akin to Dharma Cannon, it can indeed miss sometimes in this game, and I still haven't worked out how the RNG rates work with that. Apart from all that, Wing Eagle actually gets to prove itself in this game, offering solid AP and pretty good stats all round. At long last, you'll get to see how capable it is, and as more playthroughs occur, you will realise that it can be immensely irritating to fight against as well, because it's generally fairly quick and will hit you hard. Wing Eagle tends to form an odd combo with Mavelus, because the two of them actually fuse even though they can't do so in the card game. Crimson Sunbird made its international debut and only appearance in Cosmo Blazer. In Japan, it debuted in Booster 6 and reappeared in Booster R3, then Booster Chronicle. Crimson Sunbird's actual fusion materials, Faithbird and Skull Redbird, aren't actually in this game at all. So Mavelus and Wing Eagle do the job instead, for some reason. Said fusion materials also did not appear in Nightmare Troubadour for the DS, while this card did. You could only summon it with Cybersteiner, and there were much better options, so that was really not a very smart decision. Poor old Crimson Sunbird. Anyway, if you want a bit of trivia, Crimson Sunbird was also the first fire attribute winged beast type monster. Most of them, well, pretty much all of them I think were wind up to that point, so there you go. Bit of a trendsetter. And you might recognise the boss, it's Necubetos, who we fought in Kaiba's story, I believe. And we've got one of our own monsters being used against us. Now, one of the big disadvantages for this stage in the game, Necubetos team kind of sucks. Like, Axe Raider is a fairly competent opponent. It usually winds up being very strong. But for the most part, their attack power absolutely stinks. They aren't really fantastic. And if you've got some real powerhouses of your own, or you've got monsters with good HP and good AP, you will survive his onslaught and beat the crap out of him in return. I mean, even the fact that I've got Garuzas at a fairly low level, comparatively speaking, doesn't really do much to put me at a disadvantage. I mean, Judgeman is still terrible. Judgeman and Kaiser Dragon, that's a pretty terrible concoction. And we take out his Axe Raider, because the turn order is janky. Alright, we'll just keep chipping away. This is not a difficult fight. If you've got your strategies right, I mean, I know you're supposed to be sort of overwhelmed in the last one, but if you've built your teams right and you use the cannons well, you can actually handle things pretty well. It would be very interesting to do a no equipment run of this game, in all fairness. Might be worth a try someday. But I'd have to do it right from the outset, because otherwise I'd be at a bit of a disadvantage. I don't know, if I ever get into streaming, maybe it's something to do there. Could be pretty cool. Alright. I mean, and it's going to go again. And it's going to be completely underwhelming. Oh well, beat the crap out of it, and we've won this mission. Fortunately, the fact that I was able to run in the direction of away when things went south was a big advantage. Also, Raime, very, very good level 4 magic. Very, very handy. And well, and Swords of Revealing Light is pretty handy too, because that keeps all my opponents locked down, and that kind of helped me survive. It also helped that Kaiser Dragon was a complete sponge. It is still useless. It could have focused all its fire on Embodiment of Apophis and killed me, but it didn't. The AI is stupid, Kaiser Dragon is useless. And there you are, Necubetos is beaten. What I have to admit was kind of a lame fight. But then again, when you're having to be compared to the Ishtars. There we are. Well, this should keep them off our backs for a while. I think so. I don't think Marek's unit has enough fight left in them to chase after us anymore. Mai, I've been meaning to thank you. If you hadn't come when you did, well, I doubt we'd have made it out of there alive. Now, don't go getting all soft on me. Listen to me, Mai. I don't care what it takes, we're gonna get out of this game. I promise you. Okay. Remember, she's, what, 30 or something? And he's still in high school. I'll leave you to think about that. Until next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.